If you're here, it's probably because something inside you whispers that your life could be more, that who you are now isn't who you're meant to be. Maybe you've tried to fix things before. Maybe you've fallen. Maybe you've gotten tired of pretending everything is fine. This video isn't about pretending. It's about rebuilding, piece by piece, moment by moment, following 5 timeless principles forged in the fire of loss and rebirth. Before we begin, take a moment to subscribe if you believe in growth, reflection, and transformation. This channel is where we explore the ideas, tools, and philosophies that help you rise again, stronger, calmer, and wiser than before. Now, take a deep breath. Let's begin. There's a moment in every life when the story breaks. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't wait for you to be ready. One day you simply wake up and realize that the ground beneath you has disappeared. The job, the relationship, the certainty, the person you thought you were, it's gone. When Musashi lost everything at 17, he didn't just lose a battle. He lost his entire identity. But that collapse, that unbearable silence after destruction, became the doorway to his transformation. Because when life falls apart, what's really happening is that life is asking you to rebuild it consciously for the first time. In the next 30 days, I want you to take these 5 rules and live them. Not read them, not post them, but live them. They will challenge you, strip you down, and slowly rebuild your foundation from the inside out. Rule 1. Accept the unchangeable. Every storm begins with denial. Every healing begins with acceptance. Musashi's first rule sounds simple: accept reality. But to accept is not to give up. It's to stop wasting energy fighting what already is. Acceptance is the courage to say, "This happened. I didn't choose it, but it's mine to face." When you resist, you trap yourself in an invisible war that you can never win. When you accept, you open the door to the next move. For the next 3 days, your task is simple but not easy. Write down everything in your life that you cannot change, every event, loss, or circumstance that you keep replaying. Then beside each one, write, "It happened. What can I do now?" You'll feel resistance at first. You'll want to argue, to rewrite the past, but you can't rebuild on denial. You can only rebuild on truth. Musashi didn't waste a second asking, "Why me?" He asked, "What now?" That single shift, from why to what, is where power begins. When you stop fighting the past, all the energy that was trapped in regret returns to you as momentum. Rule 2. Reject weakening pleasures. Modern culture sells comfort as salvation. Relax, indulge, escape. But comfort without purpose becomes poison. When Musashi lost everything, he could have drowned in distraction. Wine, gambling, company, anything to numb the pain. Instead, he chose discipline over anesthesia. He lived like a monk with a sword, fasting, training, sleeping outdoors, shaping his pain into precision. He understood that suffering, when chosen, transforms. Suffering, when avoided, multiplies. This week, look honestly at the things you use to avoid your pain. Maybe it's scrolling, overeating, binge-watching, or needing constant validation. Choose one, just one, and remove it for 30 days. Replace it with something that builds you instead of numbs you. If you stop scrolling, start journaling. If you stop drinking, start walking. If you stop running from your silence, start listening to it. Discipline isn't punishment. It's the structure that gives freedom its shape. Without it, you drift. With it, you grow roots deep enough to withstand any storm. Musashi wrote, "The path is daily discipline in small things." You don't have to conquer the mountain today. Just wake up on time, keep your promises, and train your will. Every act of self-control is a reminder that you are still in command of yourself, even when the world is chaos. Rule 3. Master your emotions before they master you. There's a myth that freedom means feeling everything. But the truth is, emotions are weather, not identity. They're signals, not commands. When Musashi faced his rival, Sasaki Kojiro, the man arrived furious, trembling with rage. Musashi arrived calm, 3 hours late, as if he had all the time in the world. That calm wasn't arrogance, it was mastery. In 30 seconds, Kojiro died, and Musashi walked away. The third rule is clear. Your emotions are your enemy when they lead, but your allies when they inform. Anger, fear, desire, they are not evil. They are energy. But unless you direct that energy with reason, it destroys what it touches. Here's a simple exercise. The next time you feel an emotion rising, rage, panic, sadness, stop and count to 10. Feel your breath enter and leave your body. Then ask, what would the most rational version of me do right now? If you practice this for even a week, you'll start noticing how much of your pain isn't caused by the event itself, but by the stories your emotions tell. To rebuild your life, you must become the pilot, not the passenger. Emotions may scream, but you choose the direction. And here's the paradox. When you stop obeying your emotions, you begin to experience them more fully. You can feel sadness without breaking, anger without cruelty, fear without paralysis. That is not repression. It is refinement. This rule alone can change the way you love, lead, and live. Rule 4. Expand your perspective beyond yourself. After years of wandering, Musashi began to understand that the worst prison is obsession with one's own story. When you make yourself the center of the universe, every pain feels like the end of the world. So he did something radical. He turned outward. He studied poetry, architecture, calligraphy, philosophy, nature. He forced his mind to grow beyond the size of his suffering. Modern psychology calls this cognitive reframing, but Musashi called it liberation. When you expand your mind, your problems shrink in proportion. You start to see patterns instead of tragedies, lessons instead of curses. Here's your challenge for week 3. Every day, learn something completely unrelated to your struggle. If you're heartbroken, study astronomy. If you're broke, read about art. If you're lost, learn about someone else's journey. The point is to remind your mind that life is infinitely larger than your pain. Perspective is medicine. When you climb high enough, even the mountains of sorrow look small. The more knowledge you feed your mind, the less power your wounds have over you. Because the mind that grows cannot stay trapped in the same cage. Rule 5. Practice strategic gratitude. By now, Musashi had fought dozens of duels and won them all. But he realized that envy, comparing his scars to others' fortune, was an enemy that could not be defeated with a sword. So he forged his 5th rule. Gratitude is a weapon. Not the shallow kind, the strategic kind. Every night before sleeping, Musashi wrote down 3 precise things he was grateful for. A technique mastered, a meal shared, a moment of strength. Not vague affirmations, specific recognitions. Neuroscience confirms what Musashi knew intuitively. Specific gratitude rewires your brain for clarity, calmness, and confidence. It shifts your focus from scarcity to abundance, from envy to possibility. Try this for the final 7 days. Every night, write down 3 exact things you're grateful for. Things you earned, learned, or received today. By the end of 30 days, your brain will have formed new pathways that notice what's working instead of fixating on what's broken. Gratitude is not passivity. It's clarity. It's choosing to see the resources you already have so you can use them more effectively. A grateful warrior fights from abundance, not desperation. And that makes all the difference. At the end of these 30 days, you will not be the same person. You will be quieter inside, sharper, lighter, but stronger. But before we close, there is one final rule Musashi never wrote down. The rule that unites them all. Never try to go back to who you were. The person you used to be belonged to a world that no longer exists. Your task is not to resurrect your old life. It's to build a new one worthy of the knowledge your pain has given you. Maybe you're not supposed to get back the relationship, the job, the dream that collapsed. Maybe you're supposed to create something entirely different, something built by the version of you that survived. Stop calling it a comeback. Call it an evolution. Think of your pain as raw material. Think of your scars as blueprints. Think of your story as a forge. 30 days from now, you'll wake up and realize that the old you didn't die in the fire. They became the flame. So let's rebuild, day by day, step by step. Accept, discipline, control, expand. Give thanks. That's the Musashi path. Not to fix your broken life, but to craft a new one from its ashes. And if this message speaks to you, if you feel that spark of strength inside your chest, subscribe and stay close. Because every week, we go deeper into the wisdom, science, and stories that help you rise from your lowest point to your highest potential. Your story is not over. It's just being rewritten. So start today. The first rule awaits you. If you found this video, maybe it's not by accident. Maybe you're standing at a point in your life where something feels broken. Not necessarily visible from the outside, but real enough that you feel it every morning when you wake up. That quiet heaviness. That sense that your story used to make sense, and now it doesn't. If that's you, I want you to stay, because for the next few minutes, we're not going to talk about quick fixes, fake positivity, or chasing happiness. We're going to talk about rebuilding your life from the ground up, the way a warrior rebuilds himself after losing everything. Let's begin with a story. Over 4 centuries ago, a 17-year-old samurai named Miyamoto Musashi stood in the middle of a battlefield surrounded by corpses. His clan was destroyed, his comrades gone, his honor shattered. In one day, everything that gave his life meaning disappeared. He had 2 choices: end his life in shame or face the unbearable. Musashi chose the second path, and that choice turned him into one of history's greatest philosophers of resilience. Because when he lost everything, he found something far greater, a way to live. He distilled it into 5 rules: simple, brutal, effective. If you live by them for 30 days, you can begin to reconstruct not just your habits, but your entire identity. The first rule is the one most people never pass: acceptance. Musashi learned early that suffering begins where acceptance ends. We like to think that strength is about fighting circumstances, but real strength starts when you stop fighting reality. Imagine standing in a storm, screaming at the sky to stop raining. It won't. The only way forward is to accept that you're wet, cold, and alive, and then figure out what you're going to do next. That's what Musashi did. After the battle, he didn't ask, "Why me?" He asked, "What now?" That question changed everything. When you shift from why to what, you redirect your mind from pain to possibility. Neuroscience calls this cognitive release. The moment you accept what is, your brain stops looping in denial and opens the network for problem solving. For the next 3 days, I want you to do something uncomfortable. Sit with your truth. Write down every fact of your life that you wish weren't true. The breakup, the failure, the guilt, the debt, the loss. Don't justify it. Don't explain it. Just write it down and add one sentence after each. This happened. What can I do now? That's your first step, because until you face your reality without distortion, you can't transform it. Musashi's second rule came when temptation arrived. When everything collapses, the urge to escape is almost irresistible. The mind screams for relief. You seek it in alcohol, entertainment, distraction, anything that can make the silence go away. But Musashi saw through that illusion. He understood that comfort without meaning weakens the soul. So he made a vow: no weakening pleasures. He lived with nothing. He trained for hours each day, ate minimally, and treated every sunrise as a test. Discipline was not about punishment, it was about freedom. Because when you control your impulses, you reclaim your agency. Modern neuroscience backs him up. Researchers at Stanford found that short-term pleasure increases cortisol, the stress hormone, when used to numb pain. Discipline, on the other hand, reduces it. Self-chosen effort restores internal order. This week, find one comfort that's quietly consuming you. Maybe it's endless scrolling, gossip, food, or your need for constant validation, and cut it out for 30 days. Don't think of it as deprivation. Think of it as purification. Each time you resist, you strengthen the part of your brain that says, "I'm in control." Remember this: you can't build new strength in the same environment that broke you. The third rule may save you more than any other. Control your emotions before they control you. When Musashi faced Sasaki Kojiro, his rival and one of Japan's most feared swordsmen, he deliberately arrived late. He knew that impatience would drive Kojiro mad, and it did. Kojiro fought with rage. Musashi fought with reason. The duel ended in 30 seconds. In our lives, most battles are lost not because of lack of ability, but because of emotional chaos. We send the text we shouldn't. We quit when afraid. We lash out, destroy, regret. Musashi discovered what modern psychology confirms. Emotions are powerful data, but terrible dictators. You can listen to them, but never let them drive the sword. He developed what he called the imperturbable mind, a state of still awareness in the middle of the storm. It doesn't mean not feeling. It means feeling deeply, but choosing wisely. The next time you feel anger, jealousy, fear, or panic, count to 10. Breathe slowly. Picture your thoughts as clouds passing through an open sky. You don't chase them. You don't hold them. You let them move. That's how you stay the pilot. You can't stop the weather, but you can fly the plane. Here's a secret Musashi might not have known in words, but lived in practice. Emotions last, on average, 90 seconds when not fueled by thought. If you can endure 1.5 minutes without reacting, the storm passes. What's left is clarity, and clarity is power. But even clarity can fade if your world shrinks to the size of your pain. That's where the fourth rule comes in. Expand your perspective. After years of wandering alone, Musashi began to see that the worst prison wasn't loneliness. It was self-absorption. When you're constantly analyzing your pain, your story, your failure, you feed the very loop that's killing you. So he broke it by turning outward. He learned painting, poetry, philosophy, architecture. He talked to monks, craftsmen, travelers. He studied nature. Every new skill became a doorway out of his own mind. There's a study from the University of Michigan showing that people who immerse themselves in learning after trauma recover faster and report higher life satisfaction. The reason is simple. Curiosity and despair cannot coexist for long. When you learn, your brain grows new neural connections. When you grow, your suffering loses its absolute power. For week 3, I challenge you to dedicate 1 hour a day to something completely unrelated to your pain. If you're heartbroken, learn about physics. If you're unemployed, study gardening. If you're anxious, watch documentaries about the universe. Do anything that stretches your perspective beyond me. You'll notice something incredible. The more you expand your mind, the smaller your problems seem. From the mountaintop, even the biggest rocks look like pebbles. And that brings us to the 5th and final rule: gratitude, not as a mood, but as a weapon. Musashi called it strategic gratitude. It's the deliberate choice to focus on what remains rather than what's lost. When envy or resentment appeared, he wrote specific things he was grateful for. Not vague positivity, but details. A new technique mastered, a night survived, a student inspired. Modern neuroscience confirms that gratitude rewires the brain's fear circuits. It shifts dominance from the amygdala to the prefrontal cortex, the rational mind. It literally turns fear into focus. For the last 7 days of your 30-day transformation, practice this. Before you sleep, write down 3 precise things that went right today. I had the courage to finish the workout. I spoke with honesty. I learned one new thing. Within a month, you'll begin noticing your thoughts change shape. You'll start scanning for what's right instead of what's wrong. That shift, from scarcity to sufficiency, is not spiritual fluff. It's neuroplasticity in motion. Musashi used gratitude as a psychological shield in battle. Warriors who focused on what they could lose fought with fear. Those who focused on what they already had fought with calm. Gratitude creates abundance, and abundance creates better decisions. And there's one last truth hidden beneath these 5 rules, a truth Musashi never wrote but lived until his final breath. He never tried to go back to who he was before the fall. He understood that the person he had been died in that first battle, and trying to resurrect him would be like trying to reforge a shattered sword. Instead, he used the broken pieces to craft something entirely new. That's the 6th unspoken rule: evolution over restoration. Maybe the life you're trying to get back to isn't worth saving. Maybe the person you used to be isn't the person you were meant to remain. Maybe this collapse, this heartbreak, this failure is the universe's brutal way of pushing you toward the life that actually belongs to you. Think about it. How many people do you know who are comfortable but empty? They have stability, routine, even success, but they've stopped growing. They mistake comfort for peace and routine for purpose. The storm you're in now might be the only thing powerful enough to wake you up. The muscles of your spirit grow only through resistance. Diamonds form under pressure. Character is born through adversity. Musashi understood that life will hurt you, but you can decide what that pain becomes, destruction or fuel. So here's your map. Days 1 to 3, accept your reality. Write it down, face it, name it. Days 4 to 14, remove one comfort that weakens you. Replace it with something that strengthens your discipline. Days 15 to 21, practice emotional mastery. Pause before reacting. Breathe. Choose reason. Days 22 to 27, expand your mind. Learn something new every day that has nothing to do with your current struggle. Days 28 to 30, end with gratitude. Write it, live it, speak it. And on the final day, ask yourself one question: who have I become? If you do this, you won't just have new habits. You'll have a new identity. Musashi never promised comfort. He promised clarity. He promised the kind of peace that comes only when you stop running. If you follow his 5 rules, your life won't magically fix itself, but you will. And once you change, everything else adjusts around you. Maybe that's the real secret. Life doesn't need to be fixed. It needs to be faced. Stop mourning the person you used to be. Start building the person you were meant to become. And if you need guidance along the way, you're not alone. Musashi left his map. Modern science confirmed it. Thousands have walked it before you. Now it's your turn. Subscribe if you believe that growth isn't luck, it's training. Because here, every week, we explore how to train the invisible, the mind, the heart, the discipline that turns pain into power. 30 days from now, when you look back, you'll see that the life you thought was ending was only the beginning. Your story isn't broken, it's unfolding. So breathe. Begin. The next chapter is waiting.